Welcome back to the Innovative Agency, everybody. Sharon Torek with you here today. And as this feels like a day to have a summary kind of conversation with today's guest. And we're going to talk about influencer marketing, which is something we haven't talked about, Paula, quite a bit of time. We have been I think, as an industry, not overwhelmed, but sort of preoccupied by what AI means for the industry and what economic circumstances have meant for the industry. That it's been a while since we've talked about what's happening in influencer marketing and what are we seeing out there and what are brands asking for? What do agencies need to know about helping them? And so, no better a person than Paula Bruno, who is CEO and founder of I'm going to get it right, the Intuition Media Group, which is an influencer agency that works with brands to deploy influencer campaigns. And she's done it all: TikTok, Instagram, experiential. And so, Paula, welcome, first of all. Thank you for joining me today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you for having me. Yes, we are an influencer marketing agency. We've been around for 15 years, and we are really dedicated to helping brands grow and evolve and innovate in this space. And I feel our agency, we've partnered with numerous forward-thinking brands to help them with their influencer capabilities and drive growth through impactful influencer content and experiences.
So, I think that's a great place to start. I think influencer marketing has ridden so many waves over the last 5 to 10 years. Can only speak from our experience in helping our agency clients negotiate these deals on behalf of their brand clients with influencers and their teams. But we've seen trends switch from macro to micro to nano to back again. And to me, it feels like we're in a space right now, and I'd love to get your input on this based on what you're seeing. To me, it feels like we're in a space right now where it's completely mixed up. There's not really one sort of trend to hook on to. I see brands knitting together all kinds of deals together um, for the benefit of getting the business results that they want. And I'm wondering what you're seeing out there in the marketplace. If you're seeing, you know, if you're seeing micro deals, if you're seeing more nano deals, or if brands are really looking to you for help getting to those big influencers with large followings.
I think for us, and it's different. I mean, it could be different brands have different KPIs and different goals. I like to work with my clients on a tiered approach. I do like to work with different tiers of influencers for different reasons. I do work with mid-tier as well as micro, but also the larger creators who are macro and celebrity as well. I think each tier gives you a different voice as well as a different reach level, etc. So when we're working with our brand clients or agency clients, we really try to first dig in to figure out, what are they looking for, not only creatively, but in terms of, their KPIs. Are they looking to drive downloads or, website clicks or sell product? Are they, is it more of a brand awareness play? And I think understanding that really helps drive our decision in terms of what we would recommend they choose the strategy.
That's really helpful. I'm curious, what are sort of the key KPIs or sort of, I don't know, magic words? That's my unofficial terminology. What are you what are you linking to the various types of strategies generally when you are counseling your clients on deploying an influencer strategy? How do you know when an opportunity is best for going after an influencer with a large audience, somebody who's macro or close to it? How do you know when the brand would be better off using smaller communities, influencers with smaller communities to help them reach their goals? What kind of KPIs or goals are you listening for? And
Mhm.
how are you matching those to the right types of talent?
Yeah, I think right now I'm seeing some shifts in the marketplace where I really do counsel our clients not to focus so much on the number of followers or the number of subscribers. And I'm always telling them to look at the communities that these influencers have driven. And I'm finding and I'm counseling them to look at influencers who are developing those micro communities. They are small, highly engaged audiences, and I feel that, they are united by a shared value, shared interest and identities. And I feel that those are really driving real influence. I feel that there is depth over breadth. And I also feel that, these creators who lead these micro communities are really kind of gatekeepers. Gatekeepers, they're not just influencers, they're seen as like trusted advisors and cultural gatekeepers, and their recommendations are really they carry a disproportionate weight because they're deeply embedded in culture,
Mm.
right? So I just feel that micro communities are really reshaping the influencer space right now. And I'm counseling my brands and agencies not to just look at larger influencers. I do think there's a place for them and I still work with them, but not to negate the smaller micro communities. So I just think I think the future is not just about reaching more people, it's about reaching the right people through creators who genuinely live inside that culture, and where the micro communities are where the real brand loyalty can be built.
Are you finding the creators in different places today than you did a few years ago? What would surprise agency owners listening to this about where you found some of, your best partnerships for your brands?
You mean in terms of like platform or niches or what do
Yeah,
you
I'm just curious. What I mean, there's so much more real estate out there to cover today than, even a few years ago, right? So, are you looking in different ways for the right influencer than you used to? Are you searching
I
different
feel,
places?
yeah, I understand. So I feel like there are so many influencers now, right?
Right.
And we have to be very careful in our vetting process. And because there's so many lifestyle influencers. So what makes one influencer more like why would I recommend one over the other? And I feel there are a bunch of different things that we look at in terms of, why would I pick one influencer over another? It's really for me, I'm looking at the content now. What type of content are they creating? And is that content providing value somehow? Like, what are they providing? And not only, and what does the content look like aesthetically? Are they using the right light? Like, do they have it well thought out? It's not, I think the most successful creators, they look effortlessly and it looks like they're just creating content on the fly, but really they're not. They have an editorial calendar. They know what they're going to be talking about. They really plan out their content. And those are the creators, influencers that I'm looking to engage for our brands. I
And
think
also, go
I
ahead.
think it's thorough vetting,
Yeah,
looking at, not just looking at the follower count, like looking at their past content, looking at their comment section. Do they have any history of controversies? Um, are they posting consistently? And what's the sponsored content percentage to the non, sponsored percentage?
yeah.
We typically go 12 to 24 months back on their major platforms before we will green light it.
That is a very interesting tip that I had not considered is how much of their actually, I was going to ask you a question that's somewhat related, so I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that. It's a great segue because one thing that I was curious about is what are the signals you're looking for how much these creators are really into serving their communities versus
Yep.
establishing celebrity for themselves, right?
Yep. I really do look at their community, I I am looking to see, does their community follow them to other platforms? Are they really invested in them? And you can tell by looking at the comments and by, just seeing who is like really excited about their success.
Right. Well, and even maybe what their relationships to other influencers in the industry might be, other creators in the industry.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's that halo effect that I imagine
For
is
us,
important for brands.
it's really about community quality, not size, and then the audience brand fit, right? So the perfect influencer isn't just that one with, a lot of views and or a lot of followers. It's really someone whose audience aligns directly with the brand's target consumer and customer. And you know, if there's no like natural fit, no volume of likes are going to create, that audience brand fit. So there really has to be, some type of target that we're looking at, that we're trying to develop there.
Mhm.
So, I think that and I also look at the content authenticity, right? Consumers are smart, right? They're going to spot an inauthentic partnership right away. So the best collaborations feel like a natural extension of the creator's real life, not a jarring ad placement.
Got it. What red flags are you looking for in addition to like the authenticity of their content and the balance of sponsored versus non-sponsored content? What are some of the other things that leaders and agencies should be looking at when they're vetting these people and saying, this doesn't look like it's going to be a good fit for us or our brand. Just either, I mean, their content might be great, but they may be a management hassle, right? Or they're,
Yeah, that too. I mean,
yeah.
you're looking at the content. You're looking at past, if you're working with a brand, have they worked with a competitor and how did that content go? What does their sponsored content look like compared to their organic content? Is there a dramatic difference between the views, the comments, etc., between the two? And on their sponsored content, are they getting meaningful, thoughtful comments? We're really looking at some of their sponsored content, and
Mhm.
I'm looking at the thought process that these influencers go into to create their content. Um, yeah, a lot of them say, just create. Just create. You're seeing a lot of that on TikTok. Like people are saying, just create, make that video. Yeah, some of that is true where, you know, you do want to just create content, but to me, I think it has to be well thought out content, um, not just on the fly. Because like you're trying to differentiate yourself, as a creator, you want to differentiate yourself. Why is a brand going to choose you over another content creator? What is your unique selling point? What do you bring to the table?
Mhm. Well, yeah, because the brand is looking for one of a couple possible things, right? They're either looking for access to the people who are in your community so they can put their brand in front of those people in a healthy way. That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Right.
Or they are looking for the creator's influence and expertise, right, to lend credibility to the brand. So
Right. Right.
um, it's got to be an interesting exercise to sort of vet their content, their relationships, their community interaction to sort of get a read on that. And you own an influencer agency, so you all do that. This is your bread and butter every day. But for an agency that offers this solution in addition to, other broader solutions. Um, I'm glad we're having this conversation, just sort of explain some of the things they need to be digging into and maybe some red flags they need to be looking for. Um,
Yeah, there's also, in the industry, like just so many players in terms of, influence people who are calling themselves influencer marketing agencies. And sometimes brands are looking for specific, like they're looking for an agency who has specific experience, not across the board,
yeah,
but they're very specific within influencer marketing. Maybe they're specific with short form, maybe they're specific with long form or TikTok shop, so it's hard to be everything, to provide all these different services to your clients without having some specialties. So I do think that that's important. One thing I did want to go back to is you asked me a question as to what are some red flags. If
right.
I'm if I'm looking at an influencer and they have a high follower count but pretty low engagement, you know, I, they're becoming, in my mind, they're less valuable because, it's just, I'm not only looking at vanity metrics, right? Because they're not going to guarantee results. I am looking for higher engagement and I'm looking for not just likes and comments, I'm looking for those saves. The saves and the shares to me are super important because if someone's going to share it with their followers and or save it, that's a pretty important metric to me.
Got it. This is so helpful.
Thank you.
So I want to take a turn for a second
Yep.
to what happens. You've already, developed some relationships, perhaps chosen the creators with whom you're going to work on behalf of your brand clients, and now the campaign's getting ready to deploy or launch.
Mhm.
Um, what are some of the systems and processes that agencies need to be thinking about having in place before this happens? I will tell you that, from the perspective of a law firm that negotiates these contracts, what we see is maybe not enough thought through on the agency's part, maybe agencies who don't focus on influencer every day,
Right.
about being ready to be vigilant and responsive once the campaign deploys so that um, risk can be avoided or at least the bleeding can be stopped as soon as possible, et cetera, et cetera. So as an influencer agency, do you have tips, tricks, hacks for how to make sure you are monitoring these campaigns and this influencer behavior and the performance
Yeah.
of everything once the campaigns go live?
Yeah, it's really important to have processes in place and to have, if you're a brand and you're listening, or another agency who works with brands and you're thinking of working and or whitelisting or sending, maybe outsourcing the creator piece, I think it's really important to work with a brand sorry, with an agency who has experience in the influencer space because there are a lot of things that can come back to bite you. And we've seen, the lawsuits that are happening. And, there are things that you have to be mindful of. So when you're creating your campaign and you're reaching out to an influencer, you have to be very upfront in the beginning when you're pitching them as to what the deliverables are on what platforms and what type of usage rights and licensing is the brand going to require, as well as exclusivity, because you want to make sure that your client has the right usage rights and that they're not just it's not going to come back to bite them. Example, we work with a few influencers and we granted specific usage rights. We granted some usage rights specifically for Meta, specifically for only Meta platforms for a period of 21 days. And we found that they used the content in an email marketing campaign, which was clearly a violation of the usage rights, right? So things like that can come back to haunt a brand, and now the influencer just is not going to work with that brand.
Mhm.
And so it creates a lot of friction. So I feel that, if you have an agency who hasn't really worked with these contracts before or has a good entertainment attorney who's dealt with this before and who can guide them, as to the types of usage rights that are normal in the industry and the fee that they should be considering for the influencer, I think that's all really important that that brands and agencies should be thinking about, not only usage rights, but exclusivity, etc.
Right. I agree. Those are all important parts of the negotiation and certainly of the contract development.
Yes.
I guess what I'm curious about also though is once you are past thinking those things through, once the agreement is negotiated and you've got the right kind of input from the right kind of knowledgeable agencies about it, and that's who's listening today. So I think that what they would love to know is what do you set up internally at your firm to make sure that you're monitoring the campaigns and the
Oh,
behavior?
yes. So we do monitor the campaigns. We have different SaaS platforms that we use to monitor the content. So whether it be a story tracking or whether it be another SaaS platform that monitors the content, we have platforms that monitor the content, and then our account managers look at that content to make sure everything that we agree to is right. And then we look at content even past the required content. And sometimes we'll see that an influencer, has maybe not followed through on the exclusivity because we see another brand that they posted that they don't have in the agreement that we've excluded, that they can't post about another brand or brands. And, we'll find that. So and then
Mhm.
we'll have to make the uncomfortable call. Hey, we saw that you posted X, you need to take that down. It violates the exclusivity. So it's really important that you're looking at that content, you're looking at that influencer's content post the campaign to make sure that they are not in violation, or that there's maybe any morals issues that are arising that may cause the brand pause,
Mhm.
right? And they may want to take the content down because they don't want to be affiliated with the influencer.
Do you have dedicated people or a dedicated role on your
We
team
do.
for
We
doing
we
that?
have we have dedicated people who are responsible for post post campaign content review.
Got it. Got it. I would love to ask you from the perspective of someone who's had to help some clients out of some challenging situations over the years, and also just for fun. What is the craziest influencer behavior that you have ever had to react to that you can talk about on a podcast anonymously,
Oh,
uh, that you've had to shut down or course correct?
look, there's been a few different situations, and I don't want to get into specifics, but
No, and I don't want you to.
yeah, you're dealing with, typically you're working with very young influencers. They're Gen Z. They are living on their own, and they're making money now, and sometimes they do things that are stupid, right? Or that as a parent, you'd be like, oh my goodness. And sometimes my role is more of like a mentor, or like, talking to their manager and saying like, they can't do something like that, or, because it's really going to reflect poorly, not only on them, but the brand potentially down the road. So if they're thinking about it, and there's been so many things that have happened where, in the middle of a deal, we would have to, we had a long-term contract in the middle of the deal, we had to stop it, and then you have a manager who may have different competing things, right? Because they're getting paid too, so they might want to push the content, but really for the influencer's sake and or the client's sake, the best thing to do is to not post it for a while. Um, so there's a lot of competing voices and thoughts happening. You're working with influencers sometimes who have a lot of managers and or agents, and not only agents, but they have business teams, etc. So there's a lot of competing interests happening. And we're the middleman trying to make everybody happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Every day is so different and so interesting. The other day I just got a notice from, taxes, and, a creator we worked with didn't pay her taxes. And like, I'm getting a notice, and though, like we paid her, but she didn't pay. And so it just things like that happen too, because sometimes these influencers, they're making a lot of money, but yet they're not paying taxes, right? They
Right.
don't have a business manager. Maybe they're just started to grow and they're like, they made all this money this year and they didn't hire a tax attorney, and they don't know what they need to be paying. So, it's a lot of learning that's happening.
Well, I think it's hard for them to maybe understand what the scope of your true role is, and that, yes, you are there to be helpful to them and obviously help them make good choices that are going to reflect well on everybody. But at the end of the day, you are advocating for the brand in these
I'm
deals.
advocating for
So,
the brand.
yeah.
However,
Yeah.
you never want to create, you don't want to have a friction type of relationship with the influencer and or their team, because it reflects poorly not only on me, but also potentially the brand. So I walk a very fine tightrope.
So, yeah, you're sort of a diplomat
Yes, you have to be,
because you've got to handle the demands that the brand is making
but you
along
also,
with behavior that the influencer and their team is executing. So I think that's a
correct.
good takeaway for the listeners here. If the agency is
Yeah.
listening, is that this is about, yes, your responsibility legally is probably to the brand.
To the
However,
brand, of course it is. However, you need to be careful
yeah,
that you're not alienating and or making unreasonable demands and or requests that aren't industry standards, with the influencer, because then it reflects poorly on the agency as well as the brand. The influencer team could be thinking, well, they don't have experience, they have no idea what they're asking for because this isn't the norm in the industry,
right,
right? And sometimes, I do see what agencies ask for if I'm working with them on a whitelisting service basis. And sometimes I see what they're asking for, and it's something that we would never ask for,
mm,
um, just because it wasn't negotiated up front. And those are the types of things where a manager or a team could be like, huh, they're asking for this video, but it wasn't agreed to. And it just, you're walking, like you said, you have to be very diplomatic about it all.
right, right,
What I also seeing is I'm seeing that the creator industry is becoming much more professionalized. Right now you have over 2 million creators, and, a lot of them see themselves as, and other people are viewing them as small businesses,
right.
and so it's becoming a much more professionalized industry.
What do you see? That's a great segue into the mic drop question I want to ask you, which is that where do you see the industry headed over the next 18 to 24 months? What do you think influencer marketing is going to either change into, or how do you think it's going to evolve?
That's such a great question. It's been this year especially, there has been a lot of changes, not only platform changes, but changes bubbling up that I'm hearing and trends. And there's just so many things that are happening. Um, I feel more and more that I strongly believe that we're going to be seeing much more shoppable content and much more, a lot more live selling. It's taken hold in China several years ago, and it's been driving lots and lots of sales. I feel that the US has been really slow to embrace that, but I
Mhm.
do feel in the next several years that brands are going to be embracing it more. I'm talking about shoppable content, but really also live selling.
Mhm.
I think that that's going to be huge. I do feel there's going to be some changes in the TikTok platform, and I mean, I know that there's like a deadline, and I think it could get sold, and I think that there's going to be a major shift in that platform, I feel like, and maybe it's been an entertainment platform, and I don't have a crystal ball, but is it going to become more of a commerce platform, and you're going to have other platforms popping up? I do feel so there's so many things happening there.
Mhm.
I do think that YouTube is is for brand clients. I do feel YouTube is the place to be, and also YouTube Shorts. I feel there's some data there that really backs um, the the strength of the YouTube platform. So I do feel that that's going to be another platform that influencers are already going on, but I do think that that's another platform. But then I also think that there's this content fatigue out there, right? Where there's so many different platforms, there's so many different scrolls. It's just a non-stop stream of stuff. And a
Mhm.
lot of it feels like noise. And so when this is just my own thoughts, and when there's so much noise out there, people crave and look to trusted filters to cut through the clutter, right?
Mhm.
So back in the beginning, I feel like we're coming full circle. Back in the beginning, there were blogs that highlighted, you know, your go, like where you should be going. Like they highlighted, you know, your top blogs that you should look at that kind of filtered it. So I feel like we're shifting and we're going to be going to curation. Think about think about like, DJs and how they curate playlists and
Mhm.
how people curate playlists because there's so much noise out there, they need help curating it. I almost feel like whether it's going to be algorithms or influencers or different platforms who are going to be able to distill all this noise and provide context and delivered a tailored value where people go to a specific platform or creator, and because you're going to have gatekeepers of attention, right? So the curator his edge is going to lie, their edge is going to lie in the taste, trust, and relevance, right? And
Mhm.
and it's kind of like just also like kind of like how you have like finance, like newsletters and podcasts, and you go to them for trusted stock picks, right? And you go to DJs for playlists. So I kind of feel like you're going to be seeing more of that in the future. I don't know. That's kind of
So
what
more
I'm.
curation. Yeah, that is fascinating. I wonder too if part of the reason for that is because um we're going to see so much more mediocre or just plain poor influencer content that is AI generated.
Yes,
Or we're going to see AI generated influencers, period,
right.
and how people are going to be able to filter that out because we already know, or at least we know today, that humans still trust humans more than they trust
Yeah.
AI created content if they know the difference, and they don't always. You cannot always tell
Mhm,
100% anymore.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that's just going to get more challenging. But I do wonder about whether as AI is used to generate influencer and creator content, how that's going to impact the industry and how that's going to impact the tactics and also the findability of this content. We know that
Right, right,
Instagram has changed the searchability just within the last couple weeks of its streams and posts. And so is that going to mean that folks are going to hack the written captions in a different way? What's it going to mean for consumers who brands want to reach, and whether or not the content will actually reach them
right,
in
right.
a way that's authentic? So it's a fascinating time.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And I think that with AI, you're going to see like, AI shopping, and it's about to get way smarter and way more human, right? Tools like Chat GPT are going to become more integrated with your shopping experiences. It's not just going to be
Right.
it's just not product pages or ads, that are going to influence recommendations. I think you'll see what people are actually saying in these closed communities like Reddit and Amazon reviews. I think that, chat's going to be able to read all these and you're going to get product recommendations that way.
Right. And part of the role, we talked about that diplomat role. Part of that role is not only being a diplomat, but also being an educator to the
Right.
brands, right? That's the role that the agency is in, is having to educate the brands about how this all works, and also sort of harmonizing the brand's policy and practices around AI with what the influencers are doing and how they're using AI, because they may not be aligned, and it's up to the agency to understand
It's
that and
real.
put it into alignment.
Well, that is very tricky.
I know.
I think the agency has to be very clear in the contract about what is allowed for AI content. And that's something I've had many conversations with our attorney on. And, we've decided just to put a blanket statement in there that nothing is AI, and we need the influencer to tell us what is AI generated
Mhm.
um, in their content. What have they used? Is anything, AI? Is it voice? Is any of the content AI driven, etc.? I think it's really important that the agency and the brand know that, because there could be usage issues. You're an attorney, but I think there could be
Yeah.
usage issues with AI content.
There 100% are usage
Okay.
issues, especially when you are not only in the originality and the ownership of the content, but also use of brand elements, and also, I mean, there's a million things. But it starts with getting alignment between what the brand has dictated and what the influencer is required to disclose. And I will say, just if we're swapping sort of predictions, the marketing and advertising industries, and we have to remember that influencer marketing is advertising from a legal
Right.
perspective at the end of the day, have always
Yep.
had a lot of latitude to govern themselves, so long
Right.
as they're being proactive. And if we're not proactive about the disclosures that need to be made when
Oh,
content
yeah.
is generated by AI, if we don't do that voluntarily as an industry, the
Hmm.
FTC will make sure that and the platforms will do it for us, and the FTC will enforce it. And so, just it's a conversation that agencies have to be in the middle of. And your role at this point is just getting candor and disclosure, and also helping brands to understand. But if we don't do those things, then we're creating a bigger problem to unwind and solve.
I,
And we don't want it to be a regulatory resolution if we don't have to go there, right?
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. This is fascinating. And so for the agencies who are looking to collaborate with a white label partner who focuses specifically in this space, how do other folks reach you, find out more about your agency and the work that it
Sure.
does?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn, a lot of trends. You can also, you can go to the website. There's a form on the website for brands. There's that can fill that out, and also they could just email me at Paula at Intuition Media Group, and I'd happy to jump on a call, talk to them about what I'm seeing. I love to really strategize with brands. I want everybody to succeed. And yeah, I love the industry. There's so much happening right now. It's so exciting.
This has been a very fun conversation. Thank you, Paula Bruno, for sharing your expertise with us today. And thanks to the rest of you for joining us for the episode. Great to talk to you again, and we will see you next time around. And until then, everybody be well.